Hello, welcome to Stephen Speak. Today is a guest speak. It's a part 2. Getting all the series now going with part 1s and parts 2. Keeping you on the edge of your seats. This week's a special one because we got Jonny. It's recorded on location at Jonny's house in East Yorkshire, and we're going to continue Jonny's story about his trip to the Arctic Circle. And in this episode, his other trips he's got planned. So let's get speaking about that. Welcome to Stephen Speak, the podcast. Unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Hello, Jonny. We're back again.
Oh.
Well, we never really left, to be honest, did we? Because we're literally cutting this back to back. Spoiler alert. And like, I can't keep any secrets for people. I'm not going to drive up here a second time, so it's...
You spoiled the mistake
No, I did. It's a different day and everything. So we were talking about like loving motorbikes and different things like that, and the trips you've had, you planned, and you've done it for charity. And we were talking about, towards the end of the last episode, your Arctic Circle trip. Yeah. And you were going about how you prepared it. I mean, you ended on a nice little story about bones. Go and check out the first episode if you want to know what that's about. So you probably should listen to the first episode before listening to this. Yeah, I think you need that, just to get a bit of background. But so I think in this episode we'll go through a bit of more of a timeline of like leaving on that trip, like, and going through where you went to, and because I know you've literally just told me that the Iain that you went with, he kept a diary of every day.
Yes,
and. I think that's a really great idea, and we're just going to go through that, and then you've got some more trips planned, so we'll speak about them later in the episode.
Yeah, Ian's diary was useful. I mean, I used to criticise him every night for doing it and say, what are you writing all that
Dear
shit
diary.
down for? Yeah. So I took the piss a little bit, and then as soon as we got back, I was like, oh, do you mind sending me that diary? So I can look back through it.
I bet so much happened, you saw so much that reading that back, and you go, oh my God, I remember that. Oh my God, yeah.
It's funny, I look at the diary, and it starts off really detailed, and then as you get further into the trip, it's talking about
bullet points,
distances, hotels, food, more food, and mileage tends to be, and the occasional place that we stopped at. But yeah, it was definitely worth doing. I've never done it before.
Did you work out like an average miles that you went per day?
We looked at I think it was 7,500 kilometres, and we looked at breaking that down into sort of 10, 11 days, because we wanted to spend a couple of days sort of recovering from the first week in the Arctic Circle and actually enjoy it. We didn't just want to race there, see the Arctic Circle and race back. Yeah, we thought we need to experience it. So yeah, we did. We were looking at sort of around sort of high 300s, 420 miles a day.
I suppose it's getting that balance of making it kind of challenging, but then also not killing yourself, not enjoying it at the same time.
Yeah, naively thinking as well that we'll be sat at 70, so we can do that in 4.5, 5 hours. Yeah. And that's never the case. You know, it's never because.
How did you plan it? Was it Google?
You're making it sound like we had a structure.
Yeah.
It's not.
We looked at the map, drew a line, and went, that'll do.
It sounds daft. We pretty much aimed at, if we get to Sweden, as long as the compass is saying north in front of us, then we'll look at hotels on that route.
Right. So it was just like planned through hotels.
Yeah.
Really.
So we sailed from Hull to Rotterdam, and then took the road to Hamburg around Bremen. We stayed at a place, Rottenberg. It was actually quite nice on the way there. I wasn't expecting much from it, but it was nice. And this is another thing. I don't think we anticipated the fact that it was going to take us 3 days to get to Sweden. So your first day, you through Holland and into Germany, stay in Germany. The second day was going from where we were to a place Odense near the ferry for Denmark.
Right.
Denmark was probably the easiest part of the trip was Denmark, because it was getting off the ferry, and we were through Denmark in a few hours. We chose to go across the Malmö Bridge at Copenhagen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was good. There's like a bridge and a causeway and tunnels and everything. It's fantastic. Definitely worth a look if anyone's over that way. Then when we hit Sweden, we probably only rode for 2 hours because we'd been through Denmark. So it was just flat farmers' fields initially in the south, and we thought, this is going to be an absolute breeze. What could possibly go wrong? And we looked, and we changed the route a few days in, because we planned to go to Stockholm on the way there.
Right.
And it was out the way.
Yeah,
Thought we'll come on the way back. and went up, headed towards Östersund, and to join that E45 road, the main spine of Sweden.
That big long one you said that hadn't got to turn off for like 1,000. Was it 1,000 kilometers or something?
1,000 or 1,200 kilometers. Something was till next turn off. It was insane. And we were finding the hotels we booked, you're quite limited for what was available, and we were lucky that we had Booking.com. There was some really amazing.
Other hotel websites are available.
You probably should say that. Yeah, but we stayed.
Unless they want to sponsor me, I'm fine with it.
one of the places we did stay was Vilhelmina, and it was on a lake, sort of a hotel, but it was almost like, if you imagine what the old Amish communities used to look like, of little huts outside and things, and really nice. And apparently when we got there, we found out it was where a lot of the Swedish people from Stockholm go on holidays and things for sort of outdoor activities and stuff, so that was quite cool. But it was just it was pretty much on a whim. The aim was always to ride up to a place called Jokkmokk, so that's sort of well within the Arctic Circle. We got to the Arctic Circle and we went to the sign, and there was a couple there from Switzerland that had done it in an old I think it was like 1970s Defender they'd done it in, and he was having to do 45 miles an hour, and they'd set off like a month.
I was going to say they're that quick anyway, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, and he had a tent on the roof. He was doing it properly. He wasn't fucking about like we were. I think he'd put some serious planning into that. We got to Jokkmokk, so it was well inside the Arctic Circle then, and decided that we'd have 2 nights, 3 days there.
Nice.
Did a little bit of hiking just to really see what it was like. There's nothing there. For anyone that sees it on a map and it looks in the area, it'll be a decent sized town. Nothing. It's literally a supermarket, a pizza place, and a hotel. So we were getting out and exploring the area. Then we got overconfident and thought, well, we'll keep going north before we head to Finland. And it got really cold. Really cold. And
was that changed quite quick? Was it? Did it suddenly go cold?
It seemed like one day you were sat there in a t-shirt and your jacket, and the next we were pulling over and putting balaclavas on.
Wow.
It was that, and we didn't have a drop of rain for the entire trip, so it was unbelievable the weather, but it was cold. There's no getting away from that.
The thing is, when you see stuff like that, like you see people in the Antarctic and stuff, and it will be clear blue skies, and you think, oh, it looks glorious. Why have they got a coat on? But
we got lucky when
deceptive, isn't it?
Yeah, we stayed in Lapland. So I'd found these lodges on like a side of a cliff. And I'll be honest, the thing on Booking didn't do it justice. When we got there, there were just panoramic views over Lapland. It was just blanket forest. Obviously, no one's there in the summer. Then from there into Finland, and then coming all the way down the Swedish coast, which we touched on the North Coast 500 East Coast. The Swedish East Coast is the same.
Wow.
It is just dual carriageway. It was probably it was the easiest but most laborious part of the trip.
Yeah.
We sat there thinking, 400 miles to do on a fucking dual carriageway. I'd rather have done something different. And that's why the future trip that we go back next year is a completely different route and bigger. Next year's trip is bigger and more intense in every single way.
Wow.
Scandinavia. So, it was good though, coming back through there. And we tried to, never go on the same road again. So the only time we had to do that was the ferry from Denmark. Other than that, we took different routes, which was good.
That's just to keep it interesting as well, isn't it? Because you say like dual carriageways and stuff like that. You might have the most nicest scenery around you, but as a biker, you want to have a bit of interest riding as well, don't you? Rather than just sitting holding the throttle.
Yeah, and we were trying to find places to stay that weren't like a chain.
Yeah,
we wanted, and that was very easy to find random little secluded places on the way because you're going up through a spine. There wasn't any big towns. Everything was a bit more authentic.
Yeah,
we're eating proper Swedish food and lots of reindeer. People might hate me for saying that, but it was treated like beef on the menu. That was it. Everything was reindeer.
Everything was reindeer.
Yeah, there was nothing continuously. I think I had reindeer carpaccio, steak, stew, you name it. Honestly, it was just there was nothing else.
I'm definitely never going to be a vegan. I remember one of my friends at college was a vegan, and she said to me, she goes, "How could you eat meat?" And I said, "Listen, I'd eat you if I needed to." So that's it. I said, that's how much I like meat. I said, if you keeled over and I needed to eat, I'd eat you. I don't care.
It was we touched on the reindeer walking in front of us before. It was 1 minute we're like, "Oh, look how majestic that animal is walking in front of us," and the next it was like, "Can we have 2 portions of reindeer carpaccio, please, and meatballs?" So it was.
It's a weird thing though, isn't it? Because like you go to certain countries and they eat such weird stuff. Or it's weird to us, at least, anyway. And as you say, like, we see cows everywhere, but we don't really think, oh, that's a burger, isn't it? Like, you get used to it. It's like when you go to a country like that and you go, my God, look at that! It look like majestic reindeer, and then it's on the menu later that night. It's a bit bizarre, isn't it?
I think the one thing I'll take away from Sweden, from a culinary point of view, is they have a Chinese or an Asian takeaway called Chop Chop.
Wow.
And I think we had it 3 times on the way back. I had orange chicken 3 days in a row because it was just like nothing I'd ever tasted. We really had the Swedish experience on the way back, but we're trying to make ourselves a bit more comfortable with the distances. Something to aim at was give myself a target.
Yeah. The thing is, though, when you're away like that, like, did you find it difficult to find places to eat, or did you have snacks with you, or did you go wait till you at the opportunity, say, like, it was like around lunchtime and you're both hungry and you're on the intercoms, like, right, we're going through somewhere, let's see if there's anywhere to eat, or did... I'm guessing it wasn't planned from what you were saying.
No, on the way there, I took a few bits, some small items to cook with, because we knew we were going to be remote on the way.
Yeah.
So we stopped as a few videos and photos of us cooking on the side of the lakes,
nice.
Which was nice, and you were really out there. The way back, we knew we were going to be more... It was the main road from sort of northern Finland to Stockholm, so we knew there were going to be towns there that we stayed nearby. So the way back, we didn't really care. It was very much like the challenge was getting there.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to take an easier route back because we needed that on the way back, I think.
I'm guessing it was more relaxed, was it, on the way back as well, though? Because you knew you'd achieved that goal of getting there, and now it's just like it's ticking a box now just to get back, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think
chill out.
The whole point was to come back through the more civilized places because we'd also put a lot of stress on the old bike.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, if things are going to go wrong, the likelihood is it'll be after it's done sort of 2,500-3,000 miles.
Yeah.
Which a lot. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people don't do that in a year. They'll go out on a sunny day on Sunday, service the bike twice a year, and everything.
Exactly.
So we knew we needed to go that way of rural and in the wilderness on the way there, and then slightly more popularized areas.
Sensible. Be a little bit more.
Yeah,
sensible.
we had to have some structure initially.
Yeah.
I think when we got to Jokkmokk, I don't think we'd appreciated the distances. That was the biggest failing. And that's something that we will adjust next year slightly because it was... You
think that was down to your lack of planning, do you think? Just because you were like, it was just an assumption, like... Because you were saying before, it's like that far on a map.
Yeah.
But in reality, like, you don't really get that scale in your brain. And
you don't.
Britain's quite small, isn't it? So that far on a map in Britain, it's like a couple of hours, whereas that far on a map in Sweden is like a day's riding kind of thing.
I think when we looked at UK next to Sweden on the map, we were like, well, how much bigger?
No.
And one of my old colleagues who actually lives out in Sweden, he's had a holiday home there, and he said to me, a lot of the maps are scaled down to fit Sweden on there. So do not, if you've just bought a cheap, shitty map, and we said, well, how bad can it
scale.
be? I think it was getting there to get into Sweden, the fact it took us 3 days, but we just didn't even... I think it was a case of, we'll get off the ferry and we'll pop to Sweden, then we'll start. There's no popping through 3 countries. And
No. And I think when you're planning something, like, for me, I'm quite a meticulous planner. Like, my one I did was planned to the minute. Like, and I'm not even joking. Like, I knew when I was meant to be arriving everywhere. But that's what relaxes me. Because I know then... Weirdly enough, that relaxes me because I know, like, well, if there's always a plan B.
You would have a breakdown with our future trips that are already done.
I would plan meticulously, but then once I know it's planned, I don't give a fuck after that. Like, I'd be like, if it goes to pot, I've got a plan B, and plan B is, well, whatever comes. But I can't not plan something meticulous. So how are you going to be on your next trip, though? Are you going to be more planned, or are you just be like...
Oh, no, we've got less. We're going further. so in August, we got Vietnam.
Yep.
And we do Saigon to Halong Bay.
Nice.
Up through the mountains and rejoin the coast road. It's about 1,200 miles. So we're doing that on 2 Honda Rally CRF 300s that we've hired.
Cool.
When it comes to the planning, we have hired the bikes and hotels on booking.com. That is it.
Right.
We have no route. We have no map. We know we need to go at the end of each day, so we know we need to be at that hotel. But we have no idea how we're going to get there. And I think we're just going to wing it like that. So we'll do 2 days in Saigon just because it's such a melee of bikers. We want to ride around it and just there's like a million bikes or something stupid there.
You've got to experience that, though, haven't you? I think with any trip, it's like we were saying in the first part is you've got to enjoy it as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's getting that balance of, it's a challenge or whatever. We're doing this for charity and stuff, but we've got to kind of enjoy that process at the same time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, we're not going to Vietnam to race 1,200 miles. We're going to Vietnam to see Vietnam.
Yeah.
And
see the people, see the
this
culture.
Isn't a case of, we've done a lot of the charity ones and the challenges, and now it was a case of we want to go experience the culture. We want to see all the things from the Vietnam War at Saigon. We've got this 5 days in Halong Bay because we want to get out and see the temples. And Vietnam isn't going to be a struggle. It'll be, if the bike breaks down, then we'll ring the place up and get another one. So I'm not going to proclaim to Vietnam being difficult. We've got 1,200 miles in Scotland to trial, and that's going a different way. So we're going to avoid pretty much every A road. Just do B roads, things like Apple Cross and
Nice.
up over the passes. Try and get Sky, potentially the Outer Hebrides as well if the ferries are running. That's to trial New Africa Twin. So there's me there saying I'm doing it on charity because you don't need a big bike, and then I've sold that bike and bought a fucking bike. Asshole. But it's all in preparation for next year. So next year is probably going to be 3 or 4 weeks. And we're going to head to the Nordkap, essentially the top of the world. So
Nice.
It's where the land will stop in top of Norway. We hit ice. So we will ride until the road disappears. We're going to take that E45 road again through Sweden to get there because it takes us all the way up through a road that we're familiar with, and then cut across through the Norwegian national parks north of Tromsø. And until we hit actual polar ice, and then we'll turn around. So we're not booking any hotels on the way back.
No. Just as and when.
Just as and when.
We'll get somewhere
as long as we've got
a
phone signal and we've got booking.com.
Yep.
We'll that's it.
I think that's a game changer though nowadays, isn't it? Because years and years ago, you wouldn't know what was there. There was, especially before, like pre-internet days as well. Like, it was a matter of like getting a phone book or phoning places or people's experience or just going and just winging it kind of thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think when we've looked before, you might take a completely different route. So being able to cancel that and look somewhere else, or even change the route ad hoc, is just so easy.
Yeah.
We wanted to do something that was visiting Sweden again to see that road, the E45, and also going back through the fjords. So we're gonna, when we get up to the top, we'll cut back into Norway and do the Fjordic road all the way down through around the lakes and the mountains. Because when we went to Sweden, I envisaged it was going to be loads of mountain passes and everything. There's none of that. It's just blankets of rolling hills and trees. It'd be nice to have the contrast.
Yeah,
of,
have that.
The incredible mountain views and the everything really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that'll take place summer next year. Is July, I think, penciled in for.
And when did you Vietnam one? Did you say
August?
That's August.
Yeah,
so pretty close together then.
Yeah, there's a few of the smaller ones that we really use as you sort of trial and iron out the gremlins. So now we go to Scotland and things in Pembrokeshire. I know where it's all going to head towards a Dakar.
Yeah,
I know full well that for my 40th I want to have a crack at it, and that's why I got the Africa Twin.
Yeah.
So all these days of trying to get the miles in and trying to get off road,
that would be amazing to do the Dakar.
Yeah, and I think I think it'll be a case of hiring a bike and doing it as a group. But it's one of them things that if someone mentioned it when I started riding 7 or 8 years ago, I'd have laughed. But the more I'm doing, the more it's aiming towards really pushing it and seeing just how far I can go. We'll see. That would be for charity, but I think that's going to take a lot more prep than we've ever put in before.
Yeah. That'd be. I must admit, like, I've always wanted to like I've always thought that'd be an ace thing to take part in, like, and it's just such a crazy race as well, isn't it? It's just
especially because I worked in Sahara in 2016 for a year, and knowing what the environment's like there makes me even more nervous and excited about it, because I think if you talk to anybody who does long distance motorcycle riding, then it's very simple to people will be listening now going, "Well, you stay in a hotel, it's easy. You ride on tarmac, it's easy." Dakar is definitely one, and also the Trans-European Trail, which runs from, I think, the Lake District to the tip of Italy, without going on a single tarmac road, only to turn off onto green lanes. I think that's got to be up there.
Yeah.
The nowadays, I think it's so easy. You just go on the website, can't you? Download the map.
People
have done it, and you give it a go and you amend it. So, I don't think there's any trip we've done that has gone according to plan when it comes to route. Everything always changes.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll end up driving past a river that's got a road down the side of it and thinking, well, that's nicer than the road I'm on, or let's go up that mountain. There's only a few times, I think, it tends to be when I've crashed. I've got overconfident and I'm trying to pull my bike back out of a field, is when you sort of say, right, okay, maybe we need to revert to plan for a little bit.
Yeah.
There's lots of amazing routes. I don't think people utilise the ones in the UK enough. There's the...
God, no.
There's so many around now.
I can't wait to get a functioning motorcycle again. It's killing me, to be honest. We were saying in part one that it's such a nice thing to do, isn't it? Just being a biking out, it's just such a different feeling, isn't it? I know you're very exposed and it's dangerous, but you don't really care about that when you're on a bike.
No, you don't.
and I think if you thought about that all the time when you're on a bike, you're probably more likely to fall off and hurt yourself, because you'd be nervous and then you wouldn't lean with the bike and let the bike. Because I think for me, like, I don't know if it was with you, for me a motorcycle is like an animal. Like, it's a thing to be tamed, and it's a thing, but it's a thing to be kind of at one with, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I always find that, the more relaxed you are, the better you are, because as soon as you tense up, like you're not going to respond to anything properly.
I think we mentioned the intercoms earlier. So we started using the intercoms maybe 3-4 years ago, and it totally changed motorcycle riding for me, because you would sit there sometimes and sort of become a little bit bored, a little bit monotonous.
Yeah.
Whereas now, miles seem to just fly by, because you can have a conversation. You can. This sounds daft. You can almost share your misery with someone a little bit, and you point out the nice things, but at the same time, if you know the other person's struggling a bit or he's tired, you can sort of help them through it. And I think you need that, especially when the distances are vast.
Yeah, definitely.
It's, people don't seem to want to use you do get the occasional biker that we'll see on a trip, and I can't believe you're doing that, and you're not doing it with a tent and a wooden bike and all the other shit. It's that you need to have reliability and some form of comfort.
Yeah,
you can't ride for 8 hours a day and then go sleep on a park bench. You need.
When I did my big trip, I had one night in a tent, and it was the worst night, because I'd been riding for 12 hours and I had to fucking put a tent up.
And we had the
it was the worst thing ever.
You just don't want to. We had the security issue that we couldn't just put a tent on the side of the road because we didn't know what wildlife was around.
Midges were the thing that were getting me, but apart from that, I was at a campsite. But
I think midges are responsible for me doing the NC500 in a quick time, because I didn't want to stop and take my helmet off. I was literally stopping for fuel.
Saying how prepared I was on my trip, I literally had a list of everything. And what's the one thing I forgot?
Oh, insect repellent.
Insect repellent. Yeah. It's the thing I went out and specifically bought. I bought really good stuff, and I bought like a hairnet and everything. So when I was sleeping in my tent, didn't take anything of it. So I was absolutely bitten to ribbons all night. I woke up in the morning, had to put wet leathers back on because I'd got absolutely soaked the day before. It just randomly rained on me, and it was bad times.
Yeah, I took all the insect stuff. Was in part of the kit that we took to Sweden, because we were looking, thinking, well, people are saying there's midges there. It's going to be like Scotland. We didn't see any.
Really?
No, so I was carrying all these fluorescent bracelets and shit. And I know when we went through ferry, and we got searched at customs on the way in. They were opening it up, and I had these pink bracelets and all sorts of shit, and about 15 different sprays, and they were looking at me like, what have you brought that here for? But it's never saw a thing. I don't think it was an issue. It's ever an issue in Europe. Scotland is where it's bad.
Scotland's terrible.
Yeah.
Everyone said to me about it, and I was like, it's not going to be that bad, is it? I've never seen so many midges in my life. They just descended. I literally got there at the worst time to put a tent up, because they come down, don't they, like dusk time. Exactly when I got there, as I started opening my tent up, there was just swarms of them. You could see them coming at you, and I was just like, this is going to be bad.
Visor cleaner as well. We didn't take, when we went to Scotland, the amount of that you go through the midges was obscene. I was sponsored by a company when we did one of the challenges. I think it was the first one. MIPS, a Swedish company, ironically enough, that put a sort of an extra skeleton inside your crash helmets.
Right.
They put them in wearcats and things as well, and they'd sent me a load of new kit over.
Nice.
And it looks really nice, but whatever aerodynamics were on those Bell helmets, I was just going into swarms of midges, and there was just, could have barely see. It was just fucking blankets. So as soon as I came back, I was like, chuck that on the side and give me the shark back. Thanks for the helmet, but it's just attracting flies, unfortunately.
Suck them straight to your helmet.
Honestly, it was ridiculous. The aerodynamics on that thing.
The thing you don't think of is like maintaining stuff when you're on a trip like that as well, isn't it? Like, you know, you've got to clean your leathers off as well because like you get flies, you're exposed, aren't you? Nothing's stopping things hitting you.
I think it was, but the one thing we probably were a bit naive with, things like security. We really had to find. We got lucky, but in future we need to take into account where you're leaving your bike on at night time, especially when you're in some of the towns on the way back. And I think it's definitely improved how we'd plan tours going forward now.
Yeah,
I think there's no getting away from the fact that we had no single hitches. We didn't run out of fuel, no breakdowns, nothing went missing.
It's that superb planning though, isn't it? That's what it's.
I think it's 10% planning, 90% sheer luck is what it is. I don't think. I mean, even the weather, the fact that we didn't get a drop of rain.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
But people are saying to us, "Oh, you know, it's the first time and it's not rained this week, and since we can remember, you know, it's always rains this week of the year." We just seem to get lucky. I said the temperatures were low, but you can sort of handle it with the right kit.
Yeah.
Just wish I'd not carried big waterproofs in my bag that took up a huge amount of space. You know, it's.
I think sometimes though, like if you hadn't had it, you probably needed it, wouldn't you? And that's the thing. So sometimes you think, "Oh, if I've got it when we don't need it."
If I hadn't taken it, it'd have rained from the minute I got off the ferry.
It would have.
You know, it was just funny watching because obviously, that bike was held together. I think I had like black masking tape holding the front fairing together. So it had a big crack in it, and when we were sat on the ferry, we actually went across, put the bikes down. We came down in the morning. We didn't realise you had to strap your own bikes down, so we just thought the guys that fitted the cars.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, they just leave you. They just throw straps at you and leave you, don't they?
Yeah, well, my bike just sat there on the side stand for the entire thing, and they'd said to me upstairs, "Oh, have you strapped it down?" I said, "No, it's obviously closed then." But I fully expected to get on the ferry and it just be fucking laying on its side, you know,
sliding round.
That'd be it. Yeah, we've not even got to Holland yet, and my bike's fucked. It's on its side, but it was fine. To be honest, it didn't fall over. But I was looking at all the big bikes and had some serious comfort envy. Yeah, you know, they were getting on in the morning, heated grips on, heated seat on, you know. And I thought, fucking hell, another 7 or 8 hours on this, and the seat on that CBF. I know they're a commuter bike, but like riding a church pew.
Yeah.
You know, horrendous.
It's all right for a little bit, but as soon as you're on it for any length of time, it's like,
yeah. I think it's right for popping into town.
Did you get like what thing I suffered was I got like pains in my knees and stuff like that because of being in that position for so long. Even though mine was like kind of a similar style, it wasn't fully tucked up, but just I had to like let my feet off the pegs every so often, just stretch my legs.
Yeah, I think we got to a stage where the idea is in the morning we would try and do half the miles by 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we'd leave at 9 and we would ride hard for 3 hours. And then in the afternoon, you cut it down for comfort.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to manage it. Because you're eager in the morning, you're full of caffeine, and it's like,
let's go. Especially if it's sunny as well. Like you said, it was like, oh, let's go, look at the weather.
By lunchtime, you've got 200 miles to go, and it's like, right, let's do 50, and then we'll have a walk around.
Yeah.
You know, and or we'll pull over and have a swim somewhere. Just whatever to try and break the journey up. You've got to break it down into little sections.
Defo.
No, it went well. So fingers crossed when we do the big tour. I think we're going to hit 10,000 kilometers is the challenge next time. So
10,000
kilometers for the one trip. So the Nordkap roof, I think they call it the roof of the world, the top of the world, where the ice starts, and then come back down through the fjords, back into southern Sweden that way. For any biker, Scandinavia is as good as it gets.
I've always wanted to ride through that, and I definitely would love to kind of like recreate what you've done, like to go to the Arctic Circle. I'd say I've always had like that idea of going somewhere that's a little bit out there.
When we got there, it was signposted for 100 miles, like Arctic Circle this way, and then you get there, and it's like a cafe and a board with a load of stickers on.
Yeah,
there was that defender there. There was no fucker else. I think there was like a trucker that had pulled over for like his lunch. It's in a really idyllic place though, sort of between mountains and on a lake. So it's nice. So you take the usual touristy photos.
Yeah.
And then I think that was probably the hardest day though, because we'd got there by about 2 o'clock. So we'd hammered that we'd done maybe 200 or 300 miles, and then you sort of a bit of a lull. We were like, we've still got 150 miles to go to the hotel. Like further north, we'd maybe done. There's a lot of psychology goes into it.
There is,
when you're sitting there thinking, we need to keep motivated here. We've got a long way to go still to the finish point, but it was worth it, and it raised a lot of money for charity. I think between the last two, I think we were over. It was over £4,500.
That's amazing, That's amazing.
Yeah, for John's Ambulance and Cancer Research UK. So I think we'll pick the next ones. I know that we're getting some things from Help for Heroes and also Macmillan Cancer.
Excellent.
So
We'll have to keep in touch and maybe have an update.
We'll see if we can fluke another one.
Yeah,
another trip.
I don't think it's fluke. I think that's you're obviously maybe not 100% planning, but I think it's just being knowledgeable and just being sensible as well, isn't it? Sometimes. And
I think sometimes you have to look at the.
Have a rough idea and you're just like, right, we know what is needed. Yeah. Let's just go along.
You can guarantee now. You do it on a 500 quid old banger. Nothing goes wrong. I'll do it on a proper Africa Twin next time, and the fucking wheel will come off after about 20 yards. That's how it's going to be. But I think yes, the planning. The main thing I think is the company. You need that support there. I was ringing the kids, every night, send them photos back, and they were like, "Yeah, Dad, it's another photo of a road next to a forest." But it's you keep the motivation, don't you?
Exactly, and that's something you'll all the things you've done. It's something that. Charity stuff aside, like amazing to do for charity. We said before, didn't we? Before we were recording, that it's probably you might as well do it for charity. If you're going to do it, you might as well maybe try and support someone and get some money towards something. But it's that like memories you'll never forget the experience you've had, and there'll be small things that you'll share with Iain that no one else will get. It'll just be a thing for you guys that you'll know.
And I think there's those crazy little places that you see on the side of the road.
Yeah.
That. No point would you ever visit or even dream of. It's those little one-off. You remember that? I remember we'd driven. It must have been a week in, and I was sort of documenting it a little bit on Instagram stories, and I'd said how remote we were, and literally the next lay-by I passed, there was 3 Siemens wind turbines that had been sent from Hull, and I just sat there and thought. Get a fucking grip. We're not remote yet. We've still got a long way to be remote. They're still sending stuff up here and things, but you do need to keep motivated. I think the charity was a big help because I was getting a lot of messages coming through on Just Giving, or people texting or email or message on LinkedIn saying, good luck, keep doing it. You're doing really well. And you need that.
You do, yeah.
It might not be the most physically demanding, but definitely. Those sort of scales, you want motivation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think you mentioned earlier on. Sometimes something happens and you sit on your bike. You will when you're in locations get a little bit emotional, especially if you're on your own or. It's important that you have things around you and things to keep pushing you on.
And I think that having that, as you say, having that like charity and knowing that people have given money in good faith as well.
Yeah,
that kind
you don't want to let people down.
I don't want to let people down. Like it's not be all and end all. If you had to cancel it. Not the end of the world, but you also have that drive, and I think... I had one of my friends who kept commenting on Just Giving, referring to my bike as Trigger's broom all the time because so many parts had been swapped out on an old piece of shit, and I thought, I can't let him win with this. I've got to just keep going on, and when you're freezing cold and the bike's overheating and you've got to stop at the side of the road, to let it cool down a bit, it's... Just got to grin and bear it then. Exactly.
Try and find the positives in everything that we're doing. So if we were pulling over to let that bike cool down, which happened quite a bit, try and enjoy the scenery. The daftest little thing was making a brew with the camping stove.
Yeah,
it was just make a brew.
Stop.
And enjoy where we are.
Yep.
And
it all becomes part of that process, then, doesn't it? And that whole part of the experience.
I will say, all the places we went never run out of phone signal.
Really?
So when I go into the centre of Hull,
what's wrong with the UK?
I can't get a signal in Debenhams, but I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere and I've got like 4G. Something seriously wrong in the UK. But
they're not really trees; they're transmitters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
Jonny, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for being on the podcast. And you never know if any of these future trips you want to come back on. I'd be more than happy to have you on. Especially if the Dakar things happen.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Definitely want to be involved in that. And excellent, mate. Thank you very much for being on, and I hope everyone enjoyed that. I'll put some links in the description for Johnny's Just Giving page if it's still live. I think it's still live.
It's still live for a while.
So if it is, go and check the description and donate some money if you can spare it to such a wonderful charity. And thanks very much, and we'll hopefully we'll speak again soon, mate.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Cheers. Thank you. You've been listening to Stephen Speak the podcast. Thanks for listening to my unscripted prattle on everything and nothing. Visit stephenspeak.com for updates, information, and my blog. You can follow more updates on social media at StevenspeakPC. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.